while back, I did a pasta story for fall for the magazine, and this is my favorite recipe from that story. It's pasta with prosciutto and mushrooms, and even though it comes together in 20 minutes, it feels really luxurious and special, especially on a weeknight. So here I have a pound of mixed mushrooms. Now, I like mushrooms because they're quick cooking, they're easy to prep. I don't even have to use my knife for this part. Just turn them into bite-sized pieces. Okay, all my mushrooms were prepped. It came together pretty fast. Now everything else happens over at the stove. This is 16 cups of water. I add a lot of salt. Maybe for this amount of water, up to a quarter cup or so. I have my Dutch oven under medium-high heat and a quarter cup of olive oil. The first thing is I will crisp my prosciutto. I want to lay that down in a single layer. When the prosciutto is crisp, I'll transfer to the plate to drain. You can see the prosciutto has shrunk quite a bit, and it's starting to crisp and hold its shape. Like bacon, prosciutto will crisp out as it cools, so I can see from the color, it's starting to take on a slightly darker color. And now, leaving all of that fat in the skillet, I'm going to add my mushrooms. It looks like a lot of mushrooms, but they also shrink quite a bit. I want this over pretty high heat because I want to immediately start to brown the mushrooms. I want to let them cook more or less undisturbed so they start to take on color. So it's only been a minute or two and the mushrooms are already shrinking quite a bit. I didn't add quite all of them to begin with because I didn't want to crowd them too much. I want to avoid steaming, which would prevent browning. So in go the rest. And I'm not adding salt at this phase because I don't want to draw out water from the mushrooms before they take on color. The mushrooms are really nicely browned and tender. It's time to add 2 medium chopped shallots and 1 teaspoon of picked thyme leaves. The goal here is to let the shallot cook out and wait till it gets translucent. And now I'm finally going to season. So some freshly ground pepper and some salt. Now it's time to add 1 cup chicken stock. So at this point my heat is basically on medium and I want to let this simmer until there's just a very thin layer of stock coating the bottom. While my sauce is reducing a bit, I will add the pasta. This is dried pappardelle, which isn't always the easiest thing to find. Very often you see it fresh. I like doing dried pasta at home because it gives you a chance to infuse the pasta with the flavors of the sauce. So all in at once. But I'm going to finish cooking the pasta in the sauce. So I'm going to undercook my pasta by several minutes. These noodles are about 2 minutes out from being al dente, and this is when I want to transfer them into my sauce and adding a cup of pasta water to help finish it. This is a stage where you can be tasting every minute or so to see the doneness of the noodles. I think they're about done. I'm going to taste the noodles to see. Yeah, I don't want to cook them any more than this. So now I'm going to add the cream. If you boil cream too hard, it can break, so you'll get something that looks a little bit greasy, and I don't want that. I'm just going to cook it enough until the sauce reduces slightly and all the noodles are coated. I'm going to crumble in half of the prosciutto. You can see it got really crispy. I'm just crumbling this in my hands. I like having the crunchy components kind of scattered throughout the pasta so you get some in every bite. So now I'm going to kill the heat, and this is something else I do every time I cook pasta. I finish, no matter what, with a little bit of butter. The butter makes for a really glossy, luxurious pasta, and it kind of tightens up the sauce a little bit so that it coats every bit of pasta. Everything's done. I'm going to plate it over at the table. The sauce really benefits from like a minute rest or so, and then it just does a better job coating all the noodles. More crumbled prosciutto on top. And then, because we had some in the sauce already, for a final bit of brightness, some fresh thyme leaves. It wouldn't hurt to give it a final drizzle of olive oil. And there you go. It's dinner in about 20 minutes, everything happens in one pot, and the payoff is huge.